Much. It's my first time at BSIG, and I've been quite impressed with the real kind of cutting-edge themes, as it were. Things like, the big issue is obviously the authenticity of language use that people are talking about, for materials especially, and also what is relevant for the learners. I think obviously the whole field has moved on a lot from things like, we should teach people native speaking more. There's much more of a debate about what is appropriate for people. And also some talks on intercultural communication, and again moving beyond what kind of traditional research might be and looking very much at what is appropriate for our learners. So yeah, it's been nice. I've been quite impressed with what I've seen.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit about the talk you did here today?
Well, it was very nice talk. So I was talking about case studies, and I was looking particularly at book-based case studies and video case studies as well. So of course in our book Business Advantage, our series of books, we have book-based case studies which are either interviews with real people working in companies, or we have text-based case studies, as in articles from newspapers or case studies from kind of case study websites, also company websites, and also kind of company reports. So we use a lot of these different texts and develop case studies around those. So that's what I was talking about, how we kind of develop them and the types of activities that we get students to use with them. And then also looking at video case studies, and I was looking specifically at the company Aviva and how they rebranded themselves. And we use that as an example of a typical case study in the DVD.
And you used to use a really fascinating Japanese case study. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the first one I looked at was about a company called Rakuten, and I got people to imagine that you were the boss of a company and your employees don't speak much English, but you want to develop into a global rather than just a domestic Japanese company. So what could you do to address this problem? So that's really the issue in the case. And I elicited various responses, or very reasonable ones, and then of course the one that the company itself, Rakuten, has adopted through its very charismatic CEO called Mikitani-san. He said basically no English, no job, which means if you don't improve your English to such a level where you can communicate in English in my company, then you won't have a job. And he's made a rule so that even if a meeting is between Japanese and Japanese, then they have to speak English to each other. So that's the rule in the company. And then we discussed this a little bit and looked at some of the responses in other industries to this approach. So yeah, I think it's a nice case study. It's obviously relevant for people at BSIG because it's looking very much at language, but it is also a real business issue. And it's an issue that many companies face too, and many employees will face. So yeah, I think it went down quite well. That people like that case study.
Quite a radical approach. Okay, and finally we were asking everybody here today if they can give us one tip or piece of advice for a business English teacher or trainer. What piece of advice would you give them?
I think it's listen to your students, really. I mean, if you want to have really good classes, and it's not just for business English teaching, I think it's anything, to find out what are the needs of your learners. And I mean, you probably have a good idea anyway as a teacher, but they can often give you really good insights, I think, if you give them a chance to talk to you. And it's not just at the beginning of the course. I think, when you're teaching courses, you can have the kind of feedback sessions at various parts of the course to get their needs, because their needs may change. And they were struggling with something at the beginning of the course, and you've addressed that, or they find that actually they thought they were going to have problems with this area, but they've got completely different problems with another area. So I think it's not just a one-off needs analysis; it's kind of ongoing needs analysis is really good, and I find that works well with lots of learners.